In 1967, Marian Hospital opened. Today, we are building our capacity to care by opening the new Marian Regional Medical Center, providing you and your loved ones with the latest life-saving technology, private rooms, an expanded NICU, critical care unit, and ER, with highly trained healthcare professionals and physicians from the top medical schools in the country. Join us as President and CEO Chuck Cova takes Arturo Santiago on an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the new Marian Regional Medical Center.
One of the things that you see here when you start to look at this building is the architecture, and you can really begin to see how spectacular the architecture is. The two architects who designed this building spent a lot of time looking at the theme, architectural theme for buildings in Santa Maria, to help us construct a facility that our community could be proud of, but one that was consistent with what we would want a building in Santa Maria to look like. And this is probably the most spectacular view from this angle right here. You can see the bell towers. You can see the different work and craftsmanship that's put into not just the design, but the building of the facility itself.
Right.
Santa Maria has seen tremendous growth and will continue to see growth. And so as we prepared for the facility, we've designed a facility that really provides for the comfort of our patients, but really provides for the population that we're going to see in our community also. And that's why you see the size of this building. Here you're coming into the emergency department. Again, it's its own private entrance. And as you walk in through here, you're going to walk into the emergency department itself. What you'll see are 3 triage rooms. These are all private triage rooms. They're not open bay triage rooms. So if you're a patient and you're being triaged and evaluated by a nurse, again, which there are the 3 stations here, you have the ability to walk into and be triaged in a private room so that you're not discussing your medical history or medical issues in front of the public. So once you've come through here and you've been triaged, from here you'll be taken directly into the ER itself. And what you'll see when you come in here, this row of rooms, they're all private rooms, is set up for non-emergency patients. We get about 4,500 patients a month that we take care of in the emergency department. Some are trauma patients, some are cardiac patients, some are patients that just need to be seen and treated. They're non-emergency patients. But again, what you'll see is by keeping the patients separate in terms of what side of the hall they're on, it allows us to provide for all the different various patients that we have. If you walk into the patient rooms, the exam rooms, what you'll see, all the exam rooms are exactly the same. They all have the sink on one side, and one of the things that you'll see here with these sinks is these are all solid core counters and sinks. They're one piece. And the benefit of that, instead of having the grooves that you would normally have between the sinks and the counter, or the counter and the lip, there are no grooves, which actually eliminates any opportunity for bacteria to get into those spaces because there are no spaces. That's an added design from a safety standpoint. The other thing that you can see, if you get a patient who is non-urgent and then something happens, and suddenly it's now an emergency patient, these doors break away, and so by very simply pushing on the door, you have the ability to open the room up.
Wow.
Should you need to. And you saw how lightly I pushed the door on how easily it opened up.
I've never seen that before.
All the rooms, head walls are set up exactly the same with all the gases, all the lines, all the connectivity in the same place on the wall. All the monitoring equipment is also in the same place. And all the lights. You have the ability to move these lights, throughout the room. And again, they're designed exactly the same, and the reason that you do that is you want to eliminate variation. So as you come through here, you'll see the nurses' station, which is tremendously more spacious than the current ER that we have. As you walk through here, here's the ambulance entrance. One of the benefits here is we have a covered overhang for the ambulance entrance with room for 3 ambulances. Marian sees more trauma than any hospital in any of the 2 counties. And what we've done is design this facility not just for today, but for what the future is going to be. If you walk through here, the ambulance entrance comes in here. You can start to see what the trauma rooms look like.
Wow.
Same. And you can see the surgical light here, which is a real benefit. You can see the patient tower. All the connectivity comes from the ceiling. So instead of having cables and cords throughout the room, everything is localized, centralized into this tower. And you don't have to worry about tripping or falling or something getting in the way of providing patient care. This technology and this type of device you're going to see when we get into critical care. Instead of having 2 towers, 1 tower though, you're going to see 2 towers. But these are state-of-the-art trauma rooms that will serve us well, not just today, but well into the future. Because of the volume of patients that we have in the emergency department, we've actually brought CT scanning and X-ray imaging into the facility itself. So in here is a 64-slice CT scanner that also has a stroke and a cardiac package into it. Again, with imaging so important for emergency patients, and with the volume of patients we have, we wanted to bring imaging into the ER itself. So this is the latest in technology. It's a 64-slice CT scanner that is right here in the emergency department, here for the benefit and safety and comfort of our patient. No longer do patients have to leave the emergency department to go for a CT scan into the
Just
imaging
seconds
department.
away.
It's just seconds away, absolutely. One of the things that we did here also, patients that have just real minor injuries, we set up an area here. It's a fast track area. And so these are patients that maybe aren't urgent patients. Maybe they're certainly not trauma patients, but these are patients who have very, very minor injuries or illnesses. Instead of using a curtain to separate the patients, we've actually used walls. This is a fast track area. So a patient coming in here, discharged from here, it's going to get in and out of here somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes. This is the entrance into the hospital. Patients, visitors are going to come through a covered drive-through here into the open foyer here. This is really a special carpet. Now, as they've told me, this is the kind of carpet that if you have sand on your feet, will take the sand off your feet, so by the time you walk into the building, you're not taking dirt. Wouldn't this be great to have outside your house or in your house when you first walk in? So you're walking into the open foyer, which is the lobby, the main lobby area. And what you'll see throughout the hospital is a lot of waiting area space and a lot of space here for our visitors. Our current facility was not designed around visitors. It was designed around patients. So when you design a facility, you want to make sure that you have the ability to bring the families or caregivers to be with the patient. If you look at what the architect has done, you get a pretty good view of what he's done in knowing what's on the other side of a wall. They could have, the architects could have just as easily closed this wall in, and nobody would have ever known what this view would look like. As you go through this colonnade, once we move the emergency ambulance entrance to the south side of the building, once we're approved, that whole area where the current ambulance entrance is becomes a healing garden. So this colonnade will take, this view will take you through the colonnade into the healing garden. Now, our plan is that you don't have to sit here and wait for the elevators long. But knowing that the architect thought about how do I bring the geography into the building and create special views, it's pretty amazing. And you'll see this throughout the hospital. Currently, our dietary cafeteria area is downstairs in the basement area. So we've brought a little canteen. It's kind of like a little Starbucks area for visitors to wait, to stay. We also have the dining room right next door, and we'll come back through here in a second. We've relocated the chapel to the first floor. And what we wanted to do is continue the history, to bring the history of the Sisters of St. Francis into the facility. What you're seeing here is stained glass, and this is stained glass that was originally installed in the Mother House in Redwood City in 1960. About 7 years ago, the sisters sold their Mother House, and I had been up there many times and I'd seen the stained glass, and so I called them and said, can we have the stained glass? We'd love to install it here in our new chapel. And so what we were able to do is keep this in storage for the last 7 years, and then we brought it out and reinstalled it here, and it's very, very special for the sisters. It's very special for all of us because it continues the history of the Sisters of St. Francis. Because you really don't know what the building's going to look like until they design it. And as they're designing the space, I was trying to visualize what this was going to look like. And just by creating the openness with what he did with the lights and the arches, you know, with the light coming in through the arches, just created this special view. And I think creating this space just opened it up. And I think that's what made this a little bit more special than it would have been otherwise.
You sound very pleased.
Yeah, these are things you don't necessarily see on an architectural plan, but then as they start building it, you see it and you think, hey, this worked out pretty well. This is the chapel.
Wow.
This, they are doing some of the touch-up work still. In this chapel, the sisters wanted to, again, create a very, very special place in our chapel for our visitors, to have a place that was very peaceful for them. This is where the altar will go. And we're taking the altar from the existing chapel, and we're actually resizing it, and it's going to be placed right here. Some special features. The stone is the same kind of composition as the stone that we have in the current chapel. History, people have told me and it's a historical fact, but I've not verified it, that the stone in the current chapel actually came out of the Santa Maria riverbed. This stone, even though it didn't come out of the Santa Maria riverbed, has the same kind of composition characteristics as the existing stone. There's some special features in here. You can see the balcony loft, which we'll see when we go on to the second floor. It was very, very important for the sisters that family members and visitors on the second floor, which is where our sickest patients are, have the ability to come into chapel without coming downstairs. We have a camera that's there, so if we have prayer service or mass going on, patients in their rooms will be able to see and hear prayer service.
Nice. Yeah.
This is the cafeteria, and as you walk through here, you can see it's really designed for a lot of people. It's, you know, our current dining room is very, very small. One of the things that I learned, didn't know, is do you know why these aren't straight? Because you have the ability, by having it angled, to actually have more people, and it doesn't feel as crowded, as opposed to in a straight line.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that, but I probably will never have to use that thought again. This is the outdoor dining area. This was really just a space between the old hospital and new hospital. And as the architect was designing this, he said, I can take this space, and I think I can make a pretty special dining room. Here's where you can see the stained glass. That is from the existing chapel, or the older chapel. That'll be backlit, so even at night, you're going to have backlit stained glass here. Covered dining in here, open dining in here. It was kind of fun watching them bring the palm trees in here. But they being the architect, really just created a special space. And you know, as you start to look at the building, you can start to see, again, he used just, instead of making a square box, he created a lot of lines and a lot of design in it just to give it some character, a lot of character to it. One of the things that we did in this construction is we designed the connecting corridors before we built the building, and then we just shelled it off. And so at the first floor and the second floor, wherever there's a connectivity, by building the connecting corridors first, you don't have to come back after the fact and connect them. And so it probably saved us 3 or 4 months by doing it that way. But this hallway takes you directly into the existing hospital. So the CCU is connected here. It's a 10-bed new CCU addition plus 10 beds existing, connected both at the back side for patients and staff and the front side for visitor. And what you'll see in all these critical care rooms, these are all private rooms designed for safety and comfort for patients, for visitors. Just like you saw in the ER, you have 2 towers here for all the connectivity, all the cabling, all the monitoring. Private room, it'll have a couch sofa bed that stays here. So if a family member wants to stay here for 24 hours, they'll be able to do so. The rooms, critical care rooms, are a little larger than the current critical care rooms. But by virtue of having everything off the floor, everything away from the wall, and working through these towers, you just create a much more open environment and space for the nurses and the caregivers. We've also monitored 2 of the rooms in critical care for OB patients. We know with where we're going with our perinatal program, we're going to have more high-risk deliveries here. So by monitoring 2 rooms, the mom can come down here and be monitored for OB services in addition to cardiac care or whether critical services need to be provided for that mother. In addition, we've monitored 4 rooms in L&D. So when we go upstairs, you'll see those also, so that if a mother didn't need to be in critical care but needed to be monitored, we could monitor her with cardiac monitoring in addition to fetal monitoring up on the 3rd floor. And that's just an added safety feature for our expected mothers.
Has the current staffs walked through any of this?
They've come through very extensively, yes. Oh, yeah, they have.
So they're excited, I imagine.
Everyone I've talked to who's come through here has been very excited about the new space. You know, I know Dr. Merrill is up here, and maybe one of the things you want to ask him is, from a physician standpoint, how this design of a critical care room is really going to make a difference for our nurses and for our physicians.
Doctor? Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You know, my dad was an ER doctor for many years, and I visited him while he was at work. But I've never seen anything like this, quite like this.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, the way these booms are structured in this room allow the doctors and nurses to have access to the patients, what needs to happen. They need to be able to get to the airway, they need to be able to put central venous lines and so on. And these monitors on the booms can actually move around the patient to facilitate better access. It's fabulous.
Who came up with this kind of idea and this concept?
Well, you know, we looked at other hospitals and we looked to find the best of the best from everywhere else we could look, and we found these, and fortunately integrated them into the care. This is the same thing you see in the trauma room in the emergency department. Same concept. Very good.
What kind of equipment will go on these shelving? Kind of shelves?
These shelves will have your typical cardiac monitoring equipment, the monitoring for your pulse ox, your oxygen supply, blood pressures, all the drips and sort of pressors that they use in the critical care unit to maintain people's blood pressure will be all here and accessed. And it'll be remotely accessed too from other nursing stations.
And I imagine it's designed for both the benefit of the doctor and the nurse, and as well as the patient.
Well, especially the patient, but anything that can make the care of a critical patient easier and more convenient for us is good, and that's what this has done. Well, one of the things that we're encountering nowadays is that we get patients that are heavy, and in order to move patients from place to place, we actually have hoists in these rooms that will able to accommodate quite heavy patients to move from one place to another. So that's a necessity in today's environment. We love the fact that the rooms are comfortable feeling, the colors and the wood floors, and we think the environment will be quiet and it'll promote healing. We're very excited. Okay, in this critical care room, there are bathroom facilities. Obviously, people need to attend to their needs, and so right here is a full-service toilet.
How long have you been an ER doc?
20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
And 15 years ago, could you have imagined anything like this?
Oh my gosh, no. And the ultrasound technology that we have, the CT scanner that you looked at in the emergency department is awesome. We'll be able to take trauma patients from right there, basically scan them from head to toe in a matter of 3 minutes and know exactly what needs to come next. Now, we're loving the technology. It's great.
State of the art.
Yeah. Tell your dad.
I will.
This is a very typical nurses station, patient rooms. One of the things that we did in designing this building was designed it again in a way to provide maximum privacy for our patients. Most hospitals are designed so that you have patient rooms right off of the hallway. This is designed in a way where you have a foyer that you walk into first before you walk into the patient rooms. Every patient room is a private room, so when you walk in here, you start to get an idea of how big these rooms are.
Wow.
These rooms are essentially the same size as our current patient rooms that have 2 beds in them. These are private rooms. You'll see the same thing, the same kind of solid core countertop and sink. The head wall with all the gases and all the connectivity off the wall. Flat screen TV. We have the only high definition cable TV capability in all of California. So again, these are the 3 elevators that are for our staff and for patients. If a nurse needs to pull an elevator because she's got a critical patient, she'll have the ability to key it, bring the elevator right to her, and hold the elevator until she's finished with it. So this is the 3rd floor, and on here it's a women's floor. And this is where it's like a hospital within a hospital. Mothers will labor, deliver here. We have an NICU for the sickest of babies. We have C-section rooms, so mothers won't have to go downstairs to the 2nd floor of the OR and have C-sections. We have 2 C-section rooms that will really accommodate and provide for the level of care and service we want to provide for our patients here on the 3rd floor. As a mother comes through here who is in labor or who thinks she's in labor, she's going to come into this triage area here. She's going to check in first at the front or maybe just come directly in here. But if you're not in labor, you're still going to be in a private room. If you are in labor, you're going to come directly back into labor and delivery, which is right here.
Well, this is our typical labor and delivery room. What you see here is the size of the room is much larger than what we have in our existing building. But what's nice is we also have here an area where we can recover the baby. See, these pop out, the baby's here. And the nice feature of this is you can see that these side panels pop out so the staff have easy access to baby. Allows them to have a warmer, to have all the medical gases available to them as well. So right here they can tend to the baby. There is a portable unit we use as well for transporting baby back and forth, but for in the room it's nice for mom and dad to have baby right here with them.
Seems to me like everything else in the hospital, these rooms have been designed for ease of use for both mother and caregivers.
Correct. And you know what we want to do is involve them in that process, have them here in the room, not having to make them leave the environment, but be part of the care of the mom and baby. There'll also be a sleeper couch that will be in here, so that depending on how long labor is, dad can be, or the significant other can be here with the laboring mom, which is very nice.
Chuck was talking about what a major effort it was to put together this whole floor.
Correct. You know, it's complex. You have a lot of different things going on here. It's like a hospital within a hospital. Perinatal, this population of women's health is a little bit different than the care that you would provide on the traditional nursing floor. So a lot of thought went into how do we care for them, what will the workflow be like, where will the nurses be, and most importantly, providing a safe, caring environment for our patients. So we're hoping that our families will find this to be a very welcoming environment for them to be. We want them to be part of the care and the services we're providing here at Marian. So what we have here is the jacuzzi tub, so when a mom is laboring, an opportunity to actually have a tub in every room so that they, in the privacy of their own room. Wow. So this is a special feature, something that most women that are laboring, if they have an opportunity to have this, they would to have that here at Marian.
It's like a 5-star hotel.
It is, yeah, plus. Okay.
So if a mother does need C-section, she's going to come from the labor room and then come directly into, here's one C-section room, here's the second one right here. So that the mother is never going to leave the third floor and always be very, very close.
Yeah.
So as we start coming up here, we're going to walk into the NICU. It's a 21-bed NICU. It's designed, again, for the comfort and safety of our patients, of our smallest patients.
And it seems to me like everything else in this hospital, you guys have thought of everything.
Correct, correct. And, you know, the goal is to keep the baby safe, you know, especially when you have the smallest of the small, little babies that really need to make sure that we're tending to their needs, that we think of everything, because time is of the essence when you're caring for these babies. What you have here is their computer system and their monitoring system. That's important. This is the head wall where you have your medical gases to ensure, like with the adults, that you have what you need. This is where this is the bed space, so you have your incubator that goes here, in which baby would be inside the incubator to ensure, remember, they're premature, so you have to it has to be temperature controlled to meet their needs. The other thing that we have that's part of our team is a neonatal rapid response team, and that's comprised of a nurse and a respiratory therapist. They go to every single delivery. Talk about safety, right? Every single patient has that at their disposal to ensure. Sometimes there's surprise, and sometimes, and like I said before, time is of the essence. You want to make sure you're meeting their needs and meeting it quickly.
Excellent.
Okay.
Now, having a facility like this, Karen, what does that do for a community?
Well, it allows our people that live here in Santa Maria, that deliver here in this community, to stay here. What we had to do in the past was transport those patients and separate the family from baby, and they would have to leave the community, and then they would have to travel back and forth, so it really would disrupt their lives. So what we've accommodated here is the ability to have them here and receive that care that is the same as it would be at any other facility.
So basically it makes what could be a very difficult time in their lives a little bit more easy.
Correct, correct. And what we do here at Marian, and it is unique here on the Central Coast, is we have a maternal fetal board that every month, we look at different cases, we review cases that potentially are high-risk cases to ensure that, okay, if this mom's going to deliver early, what are the things that we need to do to plan to ensure that we meet their needs? And if there's something that we can't do, or if they're too high risk, we would then make that decision collectively as a team and transport them out. But the majority of the patients would stay here with us here at Marian because of the number of rooms we have available now.
We've also have become what's called a receiving hospital. We now have patients coming from outside the area into Santa Maria because of the technology and services that we provide here. So that's different from Marian. In the past, we were a hospital that sent patients out. Today, because of our size and our geography and our population base, we've been able to develop clinical services much beyond where we ever were able to before. And so we have hospitals and patients calling us to come here for care and services. So we've just come into the pediatric area. It's an 8-bed pediatric area. All the rooms, again, are designed just like the adult rooms, except for, therefore, our pediatric patients. This is kind of fun because what you see in here is students from Santa Barbara City College had a semester-long project where they were supposed to design and paint. I don't know if it was in a hospital or just in a public building. A mural that was of character and fun. And this is in our pediatric unit, and you can see if your child in here, you know, while you don't want to be in a hospital,
Right.
you know, maybe this creates a little more comfort for them. The rooms, you have the decentralized nurses station, the pod, walk into the foyer, you walk into the patient room. And this is pretty impressive because you get to see the view of the southern part of Santa Maria, which is pretty incredible. As we bring people through the building, and as they look through the views from here, they can tell you stories about different parts of the Santa Maria Valley that goes back 40, 50, 60 years. It's great to hear the stories. So this is the fourth floor waiting area, and again, it's just one of the centralized waiting areas we have.
Wow.
You know, it gives you a pretty spectacular view.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. That it is. Before we started the construction of the facility, we went to the community and asked them, what would you like to see in building a new hospital? And they talked about, the community told us very openly, we'd like to see private rooms. We'd like to see a healing environment. We'd like to go into a facility that provides a space that meets not just the needs of the patient, but accommodates also the needs of the family and friends and visitors who come along with the patients themselves. And you know, we took them seriously when they described what they wanted to see in a hospital. And we hope we're close. And as we walk through here and patients walk through here, you know, you get a pretty good sense that people are comfortable with what the design is and what it means for us and what it's going to mean for our patients, not just today, but well into the future also.
I mean, it's nice to see it now,
Right.
the facility and all the technology and the rooms and everything. But when you look forward to March 27th, what are you picturing it with, like with your staff in here, with patients in here, and when it's fully functional?
You know, we've talked about the building a lot. When I talk about more than the building, it's the people inside the building who really make a difference. And we've been able to recruit and develop and bring caregivers and physicians into our community like we've never been able to do so before. We now have the ability and have provided advanced technology for our staff. We have incredibly talented caregivers and always have. But in developing the new clinical subspecialty services, it's allowed us to develop those services even further. And so it's the people who are in here who provide the care day in and day out that really will make the difference in the care and the service we provide for our patients. In 1967, when the sisters moved from Our Lady of Perpetual Help Hospital into what was then known as Marian Hospital, they moved all the patients into the hospital without missing a meal. And we've talked about this a lot because we said the sisters did this in the 60s. And so our plan is just as the sisters did in the 60s. Our plan is to move the patients on March 27th from the existing building into the new building without anyone missing a meal. And it should be a special day. And the energy should be a very positive energy. And I have a lot of faith and confidence in our caregivers, our nurses, healthcare workers, our physicians. They're very talented, and it should be a very special day. So it should be an exciting day, but there should be a lot of excitement that day.
We'll bring our cameras.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
The new Marian Regional Medical Center, a Dignity Health Hospital of the Central Coast.